It was just a normal night. I asked him, "Can you get the trash bag?" He didn't even look up. "Yeah, give me a second, Megan." "My name isn't Megan." I laughed. He didn't. And that's when I realized he was. I wish I could say everything broke right there, like something you can point to and say, that's where it ended. But it didn't. It slipped. Quiet. Small. Almost easy to ignore if I wanted to. I didn't. I turned off the faucet slowly, wiped my hands on the towel, and looked at Daniel like I was waiting for the rest of the joke. "What did you just call me?" He paused just long enough to register that I caught it, then leaned down like nothing happened, pulling a fresh trash bag from the cabinet. "Babe, relax." I misspoke. That word sat wrong immediately. Misspoke. Like it was random. Like it meant nothing. We'd been together 8 years. Married for 5. Daniel Carter was not the kind of man who misspoke. He corrected people mid-sentence. He reread emails before sending them. He once went back to a restaurant because they charged him $2 extra on a receipt. He didn't casually say another woman's name. I didn't push. That's the part one keep replaying now. I could have asked right then. "Who is Megan?" Why did that sound so natural? Why didn't you even flinch? Instead, I just stood there, watching him tie the trash bag like we were still inside the same life we had 10 seconds ago. He carried it outside, came back in, and asked, "You want tea?" Like nothing happened. I shook my head. "I'm good." And that was it. That was how the moment ended. But something didn't reset inside me. That night felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain out loud. Everything looked normal, but it didn't feel normal anymore. It was like hearing a familiar song played slightly off-key. Same notes. Same rhythm. Just wrong. We got ready for bed. He brushed his teeth beside me. I watched him in the mirror longer than I meant to. There was nothing different about his face. That's what scared me. Because if he could say another woman's name like that and still look exactly the same, then whatever was happening had been happening long before that moment. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it again. Megan. Not hesitant. Not confused. Easy. The next morning, I tried to talk myself down. People make mistakes. Names slip. Maybe it was someone from work. Maybe I was turning something small into something bigger. But even as I thought that, my chest felt tight. Daniel was already dressed when I came downstairs. Shirt tucked, coffee made, laptop bag by the door. "Morning," he said, like always. "Morning." I watched him move around the kitchen, and for the first time, I wasn't just seeing him. I was studying him. He checked his phone twice in under a minute. Locked it immediately both times. Set it face down on the counter. That wasn't new. But it suddenly felt important. "You heading straight in?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Got a full day. Probably staying late." He didn't look at me when he said it. That was new. "Late how?" He shrugged. "Just depends. Meetings." Meetings. I nodded like that made sense. Like it didn't sound vague in a way it never had before. He grabbed his keys, kissed my cheek, and said, "Don't wait up if I'm late." The door closed. And for a few seconds, I just stood there in the kitchen, staring at the spot where he had been. The same kitchen. Same house in Edina. Same quiet street. Same everything. But it didn't feel like mine in the same way anymore. I went to work, but I wasn't really there. I'm a pediatric nurse. My job usually forces me to stay present. Kids don't let you drift. Parents don't let you drift. But that day, everything felt like it was happening just slightly out of reach. Between patients, I kept thinking about that name. Megan. It stuck. Not because it was unusual. Because of how it came out of him. Effortless. That kind of ease doesn't come from nowhere. By the time my shift ended, I had convinced myself of 2 things. 1, something was off. 2, I didn't have proof of anything. And that second part is what kept me quiet. That night, Daniel came home late. Not unusually late. Just enough to match what he said that morning. "Long day," he said, dropping his bag. I nodded. "Yeah, same. We ate dinner. Talked about nothing." He mentioned a coworker, Mark, I think. Something about a deadline. It all sounded normal. Too normal. After dinner, he sat on the couch, phone in hand again. Screen angled slightly away. Thumb moving fast. I watched him without making it obvious. "Who are you texting?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. "Mark." "Work stuff." He turned the phone just enough to show me a message thread. It was Mark. Or at least, the contact name said Mark. I nodded again. "Sounds exciting." He smirked. "You have no idea." And that was it. Nothing concrete. Nothing I could point to and say there. But the feeling didn't go away. Over the next few days, it got worse. Not bigger. Not louder. Sharper. He started taking his phone everywhere. Not just casually. Intentionally. Bathroom. Garage. Even when he went out to grab something from the car. He also started explaining things more than usual. If I asked, "When are you home?" I didn't get a time. I got a full timeline. "I'm finishing up this report. Then I've got a call with the Chicago team. Then I might grab something quick before heading out. Traffic's been bad on 394, so. It sounded rehearsed. Like he was filling space so I wouldn't ask more. And the weird thing is, I didn't. Because I was already listening differently. Every answer felt like something I had to evaluate. Every pause meant something. Every work thing felt like a placeholder. By the fourth day, I stopped trying to convince myself it was nothing. But I still didn't confront him. Not yet. Because a part of me wasn't ready to hear the answer. And another part of me already knew. Instead, I started watching. Not aggressively. Not obviously. Just paying attention. The way he smiled at his phone sometimes. Not big. Just a small shift at the corner of his mouth. The way his mood changed depending on whether he had just checked it. The way he would type, pause, reread, then delete, then type again. That carefulness again. That was Daniel. Except now, it wasn't for me. One afternoon, I ran into Rachel at a coffee shop in Uptown. I hadn't planned it. I just needed to get out of the house before Daniel got home. She took one look at me and said, "Okay, what's wrong?" I laughed. "Nothing." "Olivia," she said, already shaking her head. "Don't do that." I sat down across from her, wrapped my hands around the coffee just to have something to hold. "I think something's off," I said finally. "With Daniel." I nodded. She didn't jump to conclusions. That's why I trust her. "What kind of off?" I hesitated. "I don't know yet." She leaned back slightly. "That sounds like you already know more than you're saying." Maybe I did. But saying it out loud would make it real. And I wasn't ready for that. "Has anything actually happened?" she asked. I thought about the kitchen. The name. Not exactly. She studied me for a second. "Then don't ignore it." I nodded. "I won't." But I still didn't tell her everything. Not about Megan. Not yet. Because once I said that name out loud, it wouldn't just be a feeling anymore. It would be a direction. And I wasn't sure I was ready to follow it. That night, Daniel came home earlier than usual. Which should have felt good. It didn't. He seemed lighter. Easier. Like whatever had been occupying him all week had just worked out. "How was your day?" he asked. "Fine." He smiled. "Good." We sat down for dinner. He told me a story about something that happened at work. I nodded in the right places. Asked the right questions. But I wasn't really there. Because all I could think was, who is Megan? And why did it sound like he belonged to her when he said it? I didn't ask him that. Not yet. But I knew something had already shifted. Because I wasn't trying to fix the feeling anymore. I was waiting for it to prove itself right. I didn't decide to check his phone in some dramatic, emotional moment. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a breakdown. It was quiet. Almost calm. And I think that's what scares me when I look back on it. Because by the time I did it, something in me had already changed. I had already stopped trying to protect him. That night, Daniel fell asleep on the couch. TV still on. Phone in his hand. One of those half-asleep positions where you know he's not fully out yet, but close enough. I sat in the armchair across from him, pretending to scroll through mine. Watching. Waiting. I don't even know how long I sat there. 10 minutes. Maybe 20. His breathing got heavier. Slower. He was asleep. Really asleep. And I remember this very clear thought hitting me. If I don't check now, I never will. I stood up slowly, like any sudden movement might break something fragile in the room. Walked over. Gently slid the phone out of his hand. He didn't move. My heart was beating so loud it felt like it should wake him up. The screen lit up. Unlocked. No password needed. That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it felt like he either trusted me completely, or he thought I'd never actually look. I sat back down and just stared at it for a second. I had always been that person. The one who said, if you feel like you need to check, the relationship is already over. And yet, there I was. Doing exactly that. I opened his messages first. Nothing. Normal conversations. Work threads. Group chats. A couple of texts from Mark about deadlines and numbers. Clean. Too clean. I checked his call log. Nothing weird. His apps. Nothing. No hidden messaging apps. No strange notifications. No late night conversations. Everything looked normal. And for a split second, I felt stupid. Like maybe I had built something in my head that wasn't real. Maybe Megan really was just a slip. Maybe I was about to become one of those people who ruins their own relationship because they can't let something go. I almost put the phone down. Almost. But something felt off. Not wrong. Just incomplete. Like I was looking at a version of his life that had been edited. That's when I saw the email. It wasn't obvious. No weird name. No sketchy title. Just another account. Already logged in. No notifications. No unread messages. It looked inactive. And for some reason, that's what made me open it. Because Daniel doesn't keep inactive things. He closes tabs. Deletes clutter. Organizes everything. He doesn't just leave random accounts open. I tapped it. And everything shifted. At first, it didn't even register as something bad. Just emails, receipts, flight confirmations, hotel bookings. I scrolled slowly, trying to understand what I was looking at. None of it matched anything I knew. We hadn't traveled recently. We hadn't stayed in any hotels. We hadn't made these purchases. But the dates were recent. Very recent. My chest started tightening. I clicked into one of the emails. A boutique hotel in downtown Minneapolis. 2 guests. 1 room. 2 nights. My name wasn't on it. I scrolled further. Another one. Dinner reservation. 2 people. Different place. Different night. Same pattern. And then I saw it. Her name. Megan Dawson. Not just once. Everywhere. Bookings. Confirmations. Even in forwarded messages. Like this wasn't something hidden in panic. This was organized. Structured. Maintained. My hands went cold. I opened the inbox fully. And that's when I saw the conversations. Not texts. Emails. Long ones. Detailed. Like they were writing to each other in a way that felt intentional. Careful. Permanent. The first one I opened wasn't even emotional. It was normal. Made it back. Today felt easy. I like when it's like that. I stared at it for a long time. Today felt easy. I tried to match the date in my head. What had he told me that day? Was that one of his late meetings? One of his long work nights? I kept scrolling. There were pictures. Not explicit. But worse, in a way. Coffee cups across from each other. A mirror selfie in a hotel room. Her head on his shoulder. Him smiling in a way I hadn't seen in a while. That quiet, relaxed kind of smile. Like he wasn't thinking about anything else. I had to stop. Because suddenly I felt like I was intruding on something that wasn't mine. Which didn't make sense. Because he was my husband. But whatever this was, it wasn't my life. It was his other one. I went back to the emails. Scrolled further. Further back. This wasn't new. This wasn't recent. This had been going on for over a year. A year. While we were still sitting at dinner together. Still making plans. Still talking about maybe upgrading the house. Still living what I thought was our life. He had built another one. And he had done it carefully. There were even shared expenses. He paid for things. A lot of things. Hotels. Dinners. Gifts. Trips. And suddenly something else clicked into place. All those conversations we had about money. We should slow down spending. Things are tight right now. Let's wait on that. I had believed him. Adjusted. Cut back. While he was funding something else. Someone else. I felt something break then. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just clean. Like a line snapping. I sat there for a long time. Scrolling. Reading. Trying to find something that would make it make sense. There wasn't anything. No apology emails. No guilt. No hesitation. Just consistency. Routine. A second life. I looked up at him. Still asleep on the couch. Same person. Same face. Same man who had just kissed me that morning before leaving for work. And for the first time, I didn't feel confused. I didn't even feel shocked anymore. I felt clear. Because now I knew. And knowing is different than suspecting. Knowing doesn't ask questions. It just waits for what comes next. I locked the phone. Set it back in his hand exactly how I found it. And walked upstairs. I didn't cry. Not that night. Not even when I laid in bed alone. Staring at the ceiling. Listening to the silence of a house that suddenly didn't feel like mine. Because the truth was already sitting with me. Quiet. Heavy. Unavoidable. He didn't belong fully to this life. And maybe he hadn't for a long time. The next morning, I woke up before him. Not because I couldn't sleep. Because I didn't want to wake up next to him. There's a difference. I stayed in bed for a while, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I saw the night before. Not in a frantic way. Not even emotional. Just reviewing it. Like I was organizing facts instead of feelings. A year. Hotels. Emails. Her name, Megan Dawson, everywhere. And the worst part wasn't even the cheating anymore. It was how normal he had made it look. I got up quietly, got dressed, and went downstairs. By the time Daniel came down, I was already at the kitchen counter with coffee in my hand. Morning, he said, same tone, same rhythm. Morning. He moved around the kitchen like nothing had changed. Because for him, nothing had. That's what hit me hardest. He kissed my cheek, just like he always did. And I didn't pull away. But I didn't feel anything either. Big day? I asked. Yeah, he said, grabbing his coffee. Probably staying late again. Of course. I nodded. Makes sense. And I realized something in that moment. I wasn't asking anymore. I was confirming. We went through the motions. Same routine. Same house. Same roles. But inside, everything had shifted. I knew. And knowing changes the way you see everything. At work, I functioned like normal. Patience, charts, conversations. But my mind kept drifting back to patterns. Not emotions. Patterns. his schedule, his late nights, the timing of those hotel bookings, the dates on the emails. I started lining things up in my head, and it matched. Too cleanly. By the time my shift ended, I wasn't confused anymore. I was aware. That night, I didn't go straight home. I stopped at a cafe in Uptown instead. Same one Rachel and I had been at before. I sat by the window, watching people pass, trying to understand what I was supposed to do next. Because finding out is one thing. Deciding what to do with it is something else. Rachel texted me. You okay? I stared at the message for a second before replying. Yeah, just tired. That wasn't true. But I didn't have the energy to explain. Not yet. I stayed there longer than I planned. Let the coffee go cold. Watched the sky get darker. Eventually, I went home. Daniel wasn't there yet. Of course he wasn't. I walked into the house, set my keys down, and just stood there for a second. This place used to feel like something we built together. Now it felt like a set. Like something staged to look real. I moved through it slowly. Kitchen. Living room. Bedroom. Everything looked the same. But I couldn't unsee what I knew. I checked the time. 7:42 p.m. I already knew what that probably meant. Not work. Not meetings. Him. With her. And weirdly, I didn't feel angry. Not in the way I expected. I felt detached. Like I was watching someone else's life play out from a distance. He came home around 9. Right on pattern. Hey, he said, like always. Hey. He set his bag down, loosened his tie, and walked into the kitchen. Sorry, long day. Yeah, I said. I figured. He looked at me for a second. Something about my tone must have felt different. You okay? He asked. I shrugged. Just tired. He nodded slowly, like he wasn't fully convinced. But he didn't push. We ate dinner. Talked about nothing. He mentioned Mark again. Something about a deadline getting moved. I nodded in the right places. But now I knew. Every time he said work, I heard something else. After dinner, he sat on the couch again, phone in hand. Same position as the night before. Same angle. Same quiet smile at the screen. And this time, I didn't wonder. I knew exactly who he was talking to. Megan, I said casually. He didn't look up. Yeah, that moment. That split second where he answered like it was normal. Like it was obvious. Like that name belonged in our house. That told me more than anything else. He froze right after. Slowly lifted his head. What? I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time since the kitchen. I saw it. Fear. Not big. Not dramatic. Just a crack. Nothing, I said. And I stood up, walked to the sink, and started rinsing dishes. My hands were steady. My voice was steady. Everything about me looked calm. But inside, something had locked into place. Because now I wasn't just reacting. I was in control of the timing. The next few days, I stopped asking questions completely. Stopped checking. Stopped reacting. And that's when he started noticing. You've been quiet, he said one night. Have I? Yeah. A little distant. I shrugged. Just work. He studied me for a second. Like he was trying to figure out if something had changed. It had. He just didn't know what. And that gave me an advantage I didn't even know I wanted. Because now, I wasn't the one in the dark anymore. He was. I started paying attention in a different way. Not looking for proof. I already had that. I was looking at him. The way he carried himself. The way he spoke. The way he moved through our life like nothing was wrong. And slowly, something inside me shifted. At first, there had been hurt. Confusion. A kind of disbelief. But now, there was distance. I stopped trying to connect. Stopped trying to fix the tension. Stopped trying to understand him. Because I realized something simple. He didn't want to be understood. He wanted to be able to do both. Have both. And that meant, eventually, he would lose both. I just hadn't decided when yet. One night, about a week after I found everything, he tried to have a real conversation. We were sitting in the living room. No phones. No distractions. I feel like something's off, he said. I almost smiled. You do? Yeah, he said. It feels like you're pulling away. I leaned back slightly. Maybe I am. He frowned. Why? There it was. The opening. The moment where everything could shift. I looked at him for a long second. And then I asked, quietly, who's Megan? And I've never seen someone go still that fast. Not defensive. Not angry. Just still. Like his body knew there was no way out of this one. He didn't ask how I knew. Didn't deny it. Didn't try to redirect. He just sat there. And in that silence, everything became real. He didn't answer right away. Not because he was thinking of a lie. Because he knew there wasn't one that would work. I watched his face, waiting for something, denial, anger, anything, but all I got was silence. His eyes dropped to the floor like he was trying to slow everything down. Olivia, he said finally quiet. That was it. Just my name. Not even a sentence. And somehow that felt worse than if he had started lying. Don't, I said. My voice came out calm, almost detached. Don't start with my name like that. He swallowed, ran his hand through his hair, looked up at me again. How long? I asked. Straight to it. No build-up. No emotional speech. Just the question that actually mattered. He hesitated. Olivia, it's not. How long, Daniel? My tone didn't rise, but something in it must have landed, because he stopped trying to shape the answer. About a year. A year. Hearing it out loud didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It just confirmed everything. A year, I repeated. So this isn't something that just happened. No, he said quietly. Okay. I nodded slowly, like we were discussing something ordinary. He looked confused by that. You're not even going to ask what happened? I almost laughed. I already know what happened. That shut him up. For a second, we just sat there in the silence he created. Then he tried. Of course he did. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he said. It started at work. We just talked. And then it got complicated. Complicated. I leaned back in my chair. You booked hotels, Daniel. He flinched. You spent money we don't have on her, I continued. You built an entire routine around this. That's not complicated. That's planned. He didn't argue. Which told me everything. I was going to tell you, he said. I looked at him. Really? He nodded, but even he didn't look convinced. When? I asked. After another year? After you moved out? Or after you got tired of pretending? He exhaled sharply, like he didn't have an answer. He believed himself. I didn't know how, he said. That one actually made me pause. Not because it made me feel bad. Because it sounded honest. And I hated that. Because honesty now didn't fix anything. Do you love her? I asked. He hesitated again. Too long. That's not a yes, I said. It's not that simple, he replied. There it is again, I said quietly. Complicated. He looked frustrated now. It is complicated, Olivia. No, I said, shaking my head slowly. You just made it complicated so you wouldn't have to choose. That landed. He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees, like he was finally dropping whatever version of himself he'd been trying to maintain. I didn't want to lose you, he said. And her? I asked. He didn't answer. Exactly. I looked at him for a long second, really seeing him now, not the version I had built in my head, not the version I lived with, but the one sitting in front of me. A man who wanted both. And thought he could manage it. Which life is real to you? I asked. He blinked. What? You heard me, I said. Which one is real? Silence. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Because there wasn't a good answer. Because any answer would destroy the other half of his life. And for the first time since this started, I felt something close to clarity. Not relief. Not peace. Just direction. I stood up. He looked up at me immediately. Where are you going? Upstairs, I said. I'm tired. Olivia. I stopped, turned back slightly. I'm not yelling, I said. I'm not throwing things. I'm not doing any of that. He watched me carefully. But don't confuse that with me not understanding what this is, I added. His jaw tightened. This isn't something we fix with a conversation. He didn't respond. Because he knew I was right. I went upstairs and closed the door behind me. And for the first time since I found everything, I let myself feel it. Not all at once. Not some dramatic breakdown. Just a slow, heavy realization settling in. He had already left. Not physically, but in every way that mattered. The next few days were quiet. Not tense. Not explosive. Just distant. We moved around each other like roommates who hadn't figured out how to leave yet. He tried, sometimes. Small things. Do you want to talk? Do you want me to stay somewhere else for a bit? I can end it. That last one almost made me stop. Not because I wanted him to. Because of how easily he said it. Like ending a year-long relationship was just an option he could switch off. I didn't answer him. Because by then, I understood something he didn't. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about him. And what he was capable of doing while still looking me in the eyes every day. Rachel called me 2 days after the conversation. You've been quiet, she said immediately. I know. What happened? I paused. Then I said it. There is someone else. Silence. Olivia. It's been going on for a year, I added. I could hear her exhale. Are you okay? I looked around the room. At the life I had built. At the version of it that was already gone. I don't think I'm anything yet, I said. And that was the truth. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I wasn't even sure I was sad in the way I expected. I just felt done. That night, Daniel didn't come home. He texted. I'm staying at a hotel. I think you need space. Space. I stared at the message for a long time. Then typed back. Okay. No argument. No questions. Nothing. And that was the moment something inside me settled completely. Because now there was no pretending left. No shared illusion. Just two separate realities finally acknowledged. And I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I just hadn't done it yet. He didn't come back the next night either. Or the one after that. At first, I thought it would feel strange. The silence. The empty space where he used to be. But it didn't. If anything, the house felt more honest. No pretending. No acting like things were fine when they weren't. Just quiet. Real quiet. Daniel texted a few times. Can we talk? I don't want to leave things like this. I ended it. That last message sat on my screen longer than the others. I stared at it for a while. Then I locked my phone. Because I didn't know what that was supposed to mean anymore. Ended it. Like that fixed something. Like that erased a year. Like that brought us back to something that didn't even exist anymore. The next morning, I started packing. Not dramatically. Not everything at once. Just small things. Clothes first. A suitcase. Then another. Bathroom stuff. Books. Things that were clearly mine. I moved slowly. Not because I was unsure. Because I didn't feel rushed. There was no fight left in me. No urgency. Just completion. Rachel came by that afternoon. She didn't say, I told you so. Didn't ask too many questions. She just looked at the suitcase near the door and nodded. You're leaving, she said. Yeah. When? Soon. She leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. You want help? I shook my head. I've got it. She studied me for a second. You're really calm, she said. I know. That's not how you usually are. I know. And that was the part one couldn't explain to her. Or to anyone. Because I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like I was taking control of my life or making some powerful decision. It felt simpler than that. Like I had just reached the end of something. Daniel came back that evening. I heard the door open while I was upstairs. His footsteps slowed when he saw the suitcase. Then he walked up. Stopped in the doorway. You're leaving. It wasn't a question. Yeah. He stood there for a second, like he was trying to figure out what version of this conversation he was supposed to have. I told you I ended it, he said. I nodded. You did. That has to mean something. I looked at him. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. He really believed that. Not in a manipulative way. In a genuine, almost confused way. Like he thought that decision should carry weight. It does, I said. His shoulders relaxed slightly. But not the way you think. That stopped him. I ended it for us, he said. I'm here. I'm choosing you. And there it was. That word again. Choosing. Like I was still waiting to be picked. You already made your choice, I said quietly. He frowned. That's not fair. No, I said. What you did wasn't fair. He took a step into the room. I'm trying to fix this. I shook my head. No, you're trying to go back. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Because he knew I was right. You don't get to build something else for a year, I continued, and then decide you're done with it and come back here like nothing changed. I said I'm sorry, he said, frustration starting to creep in. I know. I ended it. I know. Then what else do you want from me? That question hung there. Heavy. Because I could tell he meant it. He genuinely didn't understand what was missing. And that's when I realized something important. It wasn't that he didn't care. It was that he didn't understand what he broke. You think this is about her, I said. He didn't respond. It's not, I continued. It's about the fact that you were able to live two lives at the same time and act like both of them were real. His expression shifted slightly. You looked me in the eye every day, I said, my voice still steady, while you were building something else behind my back. That's not something you fix by ending it. He sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. I didn't want to hurt you. I almost smiled. You just didn't want to give anything up. That landed harder than anything else. Because this time, he didn't argue. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said, quietly, so that's it. I looked at the suitcase. At the room. At him. Yeah. He nodded slowly. Like he was trying to accept it, but hadn't caught up yet. Where are you going? St. Paul. I found a place. When? Tomorrow. That seemed to hit him more than anything else. Tomorrow. I shrugged. It's not sudden. It wasn't. For me, this had been over longer than he realized. He stood up. Walked toward the door. Then stopped. I really thought, if I ended it, we could fix this. I didn't respond right away. Because I wanted to say something honest. Not something sharp. Not something emotional. Just true. You didn't lose me when I found out, I said finally. He looked back at me. You lost me while you were still doing it. He didn't say anything after that. Just stood there. Then nodded once. And walked out. That was the last real conversation we had in that house. That night, I finished packing. Not everything. Just enough. Because I realized something as I zipped up the last bag. I didn't need to take everything with me. Some things belonged to a version of my life that didn't exist anymore. And I was okay leaving them behind. The next morning, I carried my bags out one by one. He wasn't there. I didn't expect him to be. I put the last bag in the car, stood there for a second, and looked at the house. No big moment. No tears. Just a quiet ending. And then I got in the car and left. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just forward. The apartment in St. Paul was smaller than the house. Quieter too. At first, the silence felt strange. Not empty, just different. Like the kind of quiet you don't have to fight against. No footsteps. No background noise. No second life happening just out of sight. Just mine. The first night, I didn't unpack everything. Just the basics. Toothbrush. A few clothes. Phone charger. I sat on the edge of the bed for a while, looking around. New place. Same me. But not the same life. Daniel texted that night. I'm here if you want to talk. I read it. Didn't reply. Another one came the next day. I know I messed up. I just want a chance to fix it. Still nothing. It wasn't anger keeping me from answering. It was clarity. Because every time I picked up my phone, I already knew what the conversation would be. He would apologize. He would explain. He would say he chose me. And, somehow, none of that mattered anymore. A week passed. Then 2. I settled into a routine. Work. Home. Quiet nights. Sometimes I'd stop at that cafe in Uptown on the way back, just to sit for a bit. No distractions. No conversations I didn't want to have. Rachel came over once, brought takeout, looked around the apartment like she was measuring something she couldn't quite name. You okay here? She asked. Yeah. She nodded. You seem lighter. I thought about that. I think I'm just not carrying something anymore. She didn't ask what. She already knew. Daniel kept texting at first. Then calling. Then less. Not because he didn't care. Because he realized I wasn't coming back. A month later, he asked if we could meet. Just once. I almost said no. But something in me wanted to see him again. Not to fix anything. Just to confirm what I already felt. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. He looked the same. That was the first thing I noticed. Same clothes. Same posture. Same careful way of speaking. But something about him felt smaller. Like part of him didn't know where to stand anymore. Hey, he said. Hey. We sat down across from each other. For a second, it almost felt like before. Then it didn't. I miss you, he said. I nodded. I figured. He looked down at his hands. I've been thinking a lot. I'm sure you have. I know I don't deserve another chance, he continued, but I still want one. There it was. Clear. Simple. Honest. And months ago, that might have mattered. Now, I just listened. I ended everything, he said. I cut contact. I've been trying to figure out why I did what I did. I watched him as he spoke. Trying to see if I felt anything. Anger. Sadness. Something. But it wasn't there. Just distance. You don't have to believe me, he added. I do, I said. That surprised him. You do? Yeah. I took a sip of my coffee. I believe you ended it. Then. But that doesn't change anything. He went quiet. Because he already knew that was coming. I thought maybe. He started, then stopped. Maybe what? That we could start over. I shook my head gently. There's nothing to go back to. That's not true. It is, I said. He leaned forward slightly. We had something real. I met his eyes. We did. Then why can't we fix it? That question again. The same one. And I realized something. He was still looking at it like a problem to solve. Like something broken that just needed enough effort. It's not about fixing it, I said. Then what is it about? I paused. Because I wanted to say it right. It's about the fact that I can't unsee who you were while I thought everything was fine. He didn't respond. Because there wasn't a response to that. You didn't just cheat, I continued. You lived another life. And you did it well. That's what I can't come back from. He looked down again. I didn't think of it like that. I know. And that was the problem. We sat there in silence for a while. Not uncomfortable. Just final. I really thought losing you would feel different, he said quietly. I looked at him. How? I thought it would hit all at once. I nodded slightly. It doesn't work like that. He let out a small breath. I keep thinking about that night, he added. The kitchen. Yeah. I almost smiled. Me too. If I hadn't said her name. There it was. That thought. The one that had crossed my mind more times than I wanted to admit. I leaned back in my chair. But you did. He nodded. And for the first time in this entire conversation, he looked like he understood something. Not everything. Just enough. I guess that's where I lost you, he said. I shook my head slowly. No. He frowned. No, you lost me before that, I said. When? I held his gaze. While you were still living like both of us were real. That landed. He didn't argue. Didn't question it. Just accepted it. We finished our coffee in silence. Then stood up at the same time. No hug. No dramatic goodbye. Just a quiet understanding. Take care, Olivia, he said. You too. And that was it. I walked out first. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Because for the first time since all of this started, I wasn't wondering anything anymore. Not about him. Not about her. Not about what I should have done differently. Just one thing stayed with me. That moment in the kitchen. The way he said her name. Like it belonged. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet again, I still think about it. Not because it hurts, but because it makes me wonder. If he never said it out loud, how long would I have stayed in a life that was never fully mine?